everyone. Here we are sitting in Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020 with real world weather on. Just change it to the middle of the day roughly, middle of the afternoon, time of weather, and I'm going to do this video as a slightly different, I'm going to do a bit of a comparison between this and X-Plane12, which is finally, the frame rates are finally playable again, so just to show you the differences between sort of the visuals, I suppose, because the physics are pretty similar now, although I think Flight Sim 2020 has the edge, but that's probably my own opinion, but you're welcome to try it yourself and see what you think, but they've definitely come a long way. But it's where the visuals are is where it's quite contrastingly different, and we've got some cool new features from the 40th anniversary edition update. If you notice, I can switch this on. You've got to set up a button for it, and it can show you what the airflows are doing, like around the rotor when you're in proximity to objects in the ground. It just obviously tapers off, and only has a sort of a zone that shows you it in proximity to the helicopter, but it's a very cool showing you where and exactly how the wind's moving. It works on some of the aircraft as well in Flight Sim 2020, and it's a real cool real-time sort of I guess a visual of what's actually happening. So anyway, we'll jump in and we'll go check out the sea and fly around a little bit and come back and land, and then we'll do the same in X-Plane12, and we'll do it, and I'll put them one after the other so you can compare the two from the same spot, same day, same weather, everything. So we'll just switch off that, get in the chopper, and we're good to go. Bit of a breeze here somewhere. It's quite a breezy day, so we'll cruise out, we'll have a look. This is in Pawanui. We'll just head out towards the coast. It's probably not the best day for visuals because it's sort of a bit of broken cloud around really, but I'll do the same in X-Plane12 immediately after, so that you can sort of get a fairly accurate comparison of the same real time running in both. So we've just left the runway there behind us, looking back inland. So this is the sea out here. There's obviously not a lot of waves around here today. We'll just go down a little bit lower so you can see what the water looks like. Fairly still. Water looks nice, but if I come back and land, we'll just cruise back over here. We'll land back on the beach actually. I'll put the CFD on so you can see what's happening as we come into land on the beach. So you can see the ground effect and that. See it changing with the way the airflow is now bouncing off the ground, and we're in sort of ground effect. Just sort of affects my view a little bit when I'm in next view, but just settle it down there. Pulling all the air in. Right, switch that off, and now we'll just change the weather. I'm going to do this in X-Plane12 as well. Oh, not that one. It's up here. This one. So we'll switch back to clear weather. A nice clear day. And we'll change it to a storm. Actually, no, not a storm, which no, the visibility's a bit lower with that one, so we'll do this, whatever we do, we'll do it the same. So I'll go for high level clouds, but we'll just check what the where's the wind? We'll increase the wind speed up so it's quite windy. We're about 21 meters a second near the ground, so we'll see what that does with the, like in relation to the sea and everything. So we'll just turn this off. And you'll notice this is quite remarkably different to what you'll see in X-Plane. So we've turned the wind up quite considerably, and you look at the sea, how amazing that looks like with the the chop and the waves, because it's a lot windier, and I'm getting blown around a bit here. So I'll just flick to the outside view. And you can see it's fair howling from our left by the look of it. I'll switch that off again, and I'll jump back in the inside. But look at that. So, okay, it's not on real world at the moment, but the wind, you can see, has a huge effect on, you know, the atmospherics, the way it deals with the water, the waves. And so we're going to do the exact same thing in X-Plane12, and you can watch the comparison between the two, and you can make up your own mind as to which one you think is the best. Or leave a comment if you've had better experiences with either of the two of them. But this is just something, if you're doing water ops, that is just incredible. So we'll come back in and land now. We'll find a windsock if we can, so we can just see how actual windy it is. There may not be one here, I'm not sure. You can almost hear it. You can hear the wind whistling. But it's probably a short enough flight for this one, just to do a comparison with X-Plane12 now. Obviously X-Plane12 will be running the ortho scenery, just so I have actually got some scenery and not just the bland default stuff. Alright, we'll just land here, and I'll try and start in the exact same spot for X-Plane12. So X-Plane12 next. Yeah, look at that. Even the trees are moving with the considerable wind we've got on, which is something I'd never actually noticed before in Microsoft Flight Sim 2020. So as soon as I can add, or hopefully they have got it on the radar to add, like the grass blowing around more with the downwash from the rotors, that would be next level. So right, further ado, we'll get into the X-Plane12. Here we are in X-Plane12 now, on the ground, real world weather in Pauanui. Took a little bit longer to get set up than I had anticipated, so it's the weather hopefully hasn't changed too much. I just had some few technical difficulties with X-Plane, which I shouldn't have now because it's on the release beta now. It's not on a beta anymore, it's actually a release candidate. I think we're up to update 2 on the release version, so you can make your own mind up about it, but we'll jump in and we'll get going. Right, let's get started up. I could have started with the engines running. I just kind of like the sound of the 500 starting in X-Plane. It should be exactly the same. Well, it is running off the same metadata as what I ran in the Flight Sim 2020, so we'll see how it visualizes different. I've also set up a button to change through the visualizer stuff and see the rotor difference, or how the wind affects the rotors in X-Plane as well. So we'll flick to the outside view in a second and we'll have a little look at that. It's not showing quite the same stuff as what it was showing in Flight Sim 2020, so I think it's because it's using an older, outdated way it does physics. So you can see it's not really getting the correct ground effect because it's not bouncing off the ground as such when you look at the not to the same extent that Flight Sim 2020 is anyway, so I'll just turn that off and we'll go check out the surf. And straight away the ground's not as visually, there's no buildings. This is running the overlay and the Lindeman's Ortho for XP, so it's miles better than the default. The default would probably be nothing even here. So we've got the same sort of wind direction. Yep. We'll have a look what the water looks like up close. The colours look a lot more washed out in this compared to sort of Flight Sim 2020, but I mean the chopper's at least flyable now, it's smooth, but let's have a look at the water. Kind of quite a very repeated sort of a texture there. Bit of settling the power there, just because we're over the water, I think. So obviously this is on current weather, which is the same as what we had in Flight Sim 2020. The water was probably fairly similar, so we'll just go land on the beach like we did in Flight Sim 2020, and then we'll wind the wind up and see just how it affects those waves. Okay, so let's jump into the weather, flight configuration, and we'll go customize, go to manual. So this is our wind here, it's at 23 knots, so we'll wind it right up to something like, we wound it up quite high on the other one, so we'll wind it up a bit. Gusts increases, wind shear and all the rest of it, and we'll see how that affects the waves. There's no waves there by the look of it, so we'll go back in and we'll go down. I think you can change wave height, so we'll max them out and we'll see if it looks how it looks compared to Flight Sim 2020. So we'll just into the view and I'll take off. We've got a pretty windy, gusty day now, and you guys remember what you saw just before what Flight Sim 2020 was like with the weather, with the water. I mean, is this any different to what was just there before? It doesn't really look like it is. There's a few more like grey lines on the water, but it's not, there's no waves, and if anything it's actually dropped the frames, having winding the wave height up to 6, which is crazy because there's not actually any height difference in the water. Flight Sim 2020 I had it wound out and I had no drop in performance whatsoever, so we've got quite a bit of wind here. And we'll try and land back down where we landed before. I think I may have slightly more wind on in this just to try and exaggerate to show that there is just no sea effects as such, apart from a sort of a look on the surface. It's a bit of work bringing this in, but should be able to land still. It's gusting and wind shear quite badly with the way I set it up. And it just seems to just keep oscillating. You can't actually stabilise it out, which you should. I mean, it is gusting, but it just seemed to be very like a repetitive movement, just exactly the same. Each left, right. It wasn't as though it was getting worse in a direction when I was losing control, so it's quite interesting comparing the two, like one after the other like this. But visually, yeah, the clouds are definitely a lot better because this is the release candidate of X-Plane12, and they've definitely fixed some of the grey along the top of the hills, which was quite bad before, but yeah. In my personal opinion, it's not even in the same ballpark as Flight Sim 2020 for visuals. It's got better, but it's still not anywhere close. And now that Flight Sim 2020's updated its physics, as soon as Cowan Sims release the 500 and any of their other helicopters for Flight Sim 2020, I don't think I'll be back in here, to be honest. It's just how it is, I think. I know what I'll prefer to fly around and enjoy the physics and the scenery and have fun. I'll catch you on the next one.